You're listening to ABA One-on-One Podcast.
Sassy B Worldwide Productions. With over 25 years of entertainment experience, we have done it all. Celebrity appearances, red carpet events, image consultation, and branding design. Our clients range from American football stars to Hollywood celebrities and everyone in between. Want to make a splash in the entertainment industry? Then it's time to get sassy. SassyBWorldwide.com.
The best way to keep up with everything happening around here at ABA 101 is to join our monthly newsletter. Just for joining, we give you $230 worth of free gifts from our sponsors once you confirm your email address. You can unsubscribe at any time, but why would you? Just go to our website, www.aba101.club, scroll to the bottom of the page, and subscribe. Hey guys, it's time for a new episode of ABA One-on-One.
Open up, yeah. Open up now. Open up. Open up, yeah. Open up. Open up now. I give a damn dog, give him a bone. Give a damn dog a bone. I give a damn dog, give him a bone. Give a damn dog a bone. Give him a bone. Damn dog, give him a bone. Give a damn dog a bone. Give him a bone. Give a damn dog, give him a bone.
All right, let me just do this real quick. Hey guys, welcome back to another ABA One-on-One. Today, we have ABA royalty on the show once again. We've been lucky to get a few great people. We have Bob Netoliky, AKA Neto, from the Indiana Pacers. And joining me again is, the gang, Brian and Rick. And wow, let me just say, Bob, welcome to ABA One-on-One.
Hey, great to be here, man.
Man,
yeah, fantastic.
Honor for us, for sure.
Just don't use the word old too much tonight.
No. Rick reprimanded me from that, so I just start saying big brother because we're not that much younger than you guys. We're chasing you, and it's like we're actually honored to have you guys around and remembering back in the day, and man, it's a beautiful thing, man. So we're just honored to have you on here. But yeah, hey, want to hear about the league, man. When you were back there starting out and teaming up with the ABA, what was it like for you, and what was your main experience back then?
Well, I'll start from the beginning. When I was playing at Drake University back then, the NBA, if you're lucky to see a playoff game, it might be on a recorded Boston Celtic game. They didn't have any live TV. Nobody really thought of the NBA. Nobody really, even when you went to basketball, played in college, you never thought about playing in the NBA. You thought, man, maybe someday. Not like today, today you get a first-round draft choice, you're a millionaire. But there really wasn't much. And like I told CJ earlier, in 1966, there was only 8 teams in the NBA. Think about that, 8 teams with 10 players on a team. Now you got 400, almost 500 players on the rosters. And there just wasn't a lot of room. There was a lot of talent out there, but there really wasn't the room on the rosters. And the money wasn't there. There was no interest for the there was no television, there was no big sponsors, anything, and it was kind of dying. And these guys from the ABA came up with this idea, and George Michael was one of them. He said, let's make this interesting. Let's have people come instead of just. I went to a couple of NBA games when I was in college, and basically they had no cheerleaders, they had nothing at halftime. You just sat and maybe drank a beer and watched the game, and that was about it. And the ABA brought literally Magic, with Magic and Bird and those guys, the ABA was the first one that really brought Showtime. I mean, they made it an event to come to a game. There was pregame, there was cheerleaders, there was halftime shows, blah, 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 blah. And there was also a lot of great players out there that just didn't have a chance to play. And, I've talked to, I know a lot of NBA guys are friends of mine. I can remember talking to Walt Frazier one time, and he was just, he's saying, NBA and the ABA, it was the greatest. The merger was so great because it changed the game. It made it more popular. The television came in, the money increased. And Walt, in my book that we just wrote, Walt made a great comment. He said, today's NBA is the ABA. We just don't use the ball. And
that's true.
And I really believe that's the truth. And it makes it exciting. And I'll tell you a story a little later on that's in my book. That's some real stories. But when I got drafted by San Diego Rockets. And I was like, I think the 18th pick or something back then. Like I said, there was no teams back then. And I got drafted by the Pacers. And you really didn't think NBA, ABA didn't mean anything. I went to the person with the most money, basically. And the main reason was our general manager is a great guy, but he wasn't too smart when it came to cars. And part of my deal was, I said, he offered to lease me a car for a year. And he asked me what I wanted. And I said, well, how about a Corvette? And he said, okay, who makes that? I said, oh, it's just a Chevrolet. Oh, no problem. And I think the damn car cost him more than my contract, paying insurance on a 20-year-old kid driving a Corvette. But that was kind of the way it was back then. And I can remember where Earl Monroe was in the same draft class as me. And he was a first rounder with the Bullets, and he got a 2-year contract for $24,000 a year, and we thought he broke the damn bank. We thought, oh my God, how can he have that much money? And the highest paid player in the NBA back then, other than Wilt and Russell, was Jerry West, and there was $35,000 a year. So it was a whole different, vibe, feeling back then. And I hate to say it, sound kind of, talking about it, but guys played pretty much for the love of the game back then.
Yeah, we can feel that.
Yeah, see, I think that's a great point that you made there, Neto, in relation to guys playing for the love of the game. I mean, just my view. I don't know if today's player is. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you got a lot of players out there today that play for the love of the game and really enjoy playing the game. But what do you think today's? Yeah, but today it's more financially based. Would you agree with that? Or?
It's absolutely incredible. I tell people Connie Hawkins. I don't know if you remember the name Connie Hawkins. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Connie and Roger Brown came from New York, and Connie was absolutely incredible. I mean, I think I learned more in one game playing against Connie than I did my whole college career. And I tried to copy his moves. Fortunately, I had big hands, but his first contract, and Connie was probably one of the greatest players ever. $7,500 a year he made his first year. Think about that. Wow. But it was kind of I won't say magical, but it was a really interesting time in basketball, and it was growing, and the ABA was growing, and I keep going back to my book, which I'll continue on, but there's so many things that happened that nobody knew about. I didn't even know about them until 4 or 5 years ago, and that changed basketball forever, and it really did.
Yeah, I've been kind of peeping at the book a bit. We Changed the Game, and very, very interesting, and so true as well.
Well, a lot of an interesting story is we named one chapter in the book. The name of the chapter is "Which One of You Assholes is Tinkham?" those were the first words ever spoken in the NBA ABA merger.
Wow.
Dick Tinkham was the head of the merger committee, and he sued the NBA. And this was 1970, and they walked in to have a meeting in New York, and Ned Irish was the big honcho from the New York Knicks. And when they walked in, he stood up, and that's the first thing he said. He says, "Which one, da-da-da?" And then the next sentence he said, which you guys will like this, he said, "Tinkham," he says, "we don't like being sued, but I can tell you one thing. If this merger goes through, it may or may not, but I can tell you two things that will never, ever happen in the NBA." He said, one, we'll never use that damn ball. And two, there will never, ever be a 3-point play. So one out of two isn't bad.
well, you know, the money ball on the 3-point shootout is a red, white, blue ball, you know. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, they quit using the red, white, blue ball for a year because a friend of mine and I started making it and calling it the money ball, and the NBA got all mad and wanted to sue us and everything else.
Hey, Bob, you know, the ABA also, and I told that story a few weeks ago, the ABA also came up with a time machine where leave at 12 and arrive at 12.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you put Marvin Barnes and Wendell Lamb in a room in the spelling bee, and they'd still be there.
Oh,
But
my God.
hey, Barnes could play though.
Oh man, he was a hell of a player. He was a great
player.
It's a shame that what happened in those days that they didn't get a hold of him. You know, on the darn. It's really a shame it happened to some of those guys because they were just, you know, nobody really took them under their wing back then. They kind of used them. It's a shame because Marvin was a hell of a player.
Man.
He like a lot of them didn't speak at commencement though. That's what I tell players. I didn't speak at commencement. Guy said, yeah, you had a 3.8. And I said, yeah, I made a 1.6 twice.
Well, Dan Issel tells a story about when Wendell Lamb, they flew into Washington, D.C. to play the Capitals, and they flew over the Washington Monument, and he poked Issel in the ribs and said, look, Dan, there's the Washington Post.
Gosh.
Yeah, but that's just a story.
Wow.
Oh man. Hey, so we got to ask you. I ask all the greats to come on. Like I usually say who's the person you hated playing against the most, but I want to know who's the person that you loved like matching up with them, you know, when it was game time.
Well, I could be selfish and say everybody because I couldn't stop my hook shot. But I'll tell you, there was so many. You know, people always ask you who's the best player you played. There were so many great players that I had to guard. I mean, I've literally, when Mel got in foul trouble, I had to pivot. So, you know, I had to go up against Arts. I had to go up against Zelmo. I had to go up against Rick Barry. I had to go up against Julius. I had to go up against Dan Issel all the time. You know, and how do you differentiate these guys and say which one is great? I mean, they're all fabulous players. And, you know, it's hard to say, you know, who was the best guy you ever played against. I mean, Spencer Haywood, fabulous player. Although the first time Spencer played us, he thought he could block my hook, and I gave him 32.
There you go.
And when I talk to him, I always remind him of that.
I forgot about that too, that you got that hook shot, because 2 shows ago we had Paul McKeskey on and Greg Kite. We were talking about Kareem's sky hook, you know, so it's good to see you know, another person out there that used the hook as well.
You know, it's a shame people don't use that more because these kids, these big kids, especially there's a kid in the Pacers. He's on our advisory board on dropping dimes.
Rick Schmidt?
No, gosh, he's playing right now. My brain. See, when you get old, your brain doesn't work too well. Anyway, he's a center for Miles Turner.
Yeah, Miles Turner. Yeah,
and Miles got a great body, but he wants to shoot threes. And if that kid could learn a nice soft hook shot, I mean, you couldn't stop him. It's funny that it's just not taught like it used to be.
Yeah.
See, it's funny you mentioned that, Neto, because we actually had a conversation about that a couple of shows ago in relation to big men and, you know, how the game it should be played inside out. And I think Rick made the comment that the game is being played outer and outer, you know, but rather than inside out, because if you find that guy, you know, because we were talking about the hook shot with Kareem, you know, who that sky hook was unstoppable, but that's one of the greatest shots in the game of basketball. But big men, again, today, they don't use it. They just prefer to shoot threes.
Right, and you see all these big men when they're running offense. You got the 2 centers standing out 3-point line. A really funny story was when Mel Daniels traded to us in the second year, which is the best trade we ever made.
There's a legend.
One of the first 2 practices, Mel was out there shooting 30-foot jump shots, just goof. And Slick walked out to him. That's Bobby Leonard, our coach. Slick walked out to him and grabbed the ball and threw it at his head almost and screamed. He said, "If you ever shoot anything more than a 10-foot jump shot, I'm going to kill. Literally, I'm going to kill."
Wow.
I mean, he threatened his life, and Mel actually was intimidated. He said,
Wow.
"You're a center. You aren't a 3-point shooter." And Mel was, and Mel was a force inside, and so was and so was Artis, and so was even a guy like Billy Pulse was really strong inside.
Yeah, Bob, you know what happened today? If that same scenario had happened, we'd be looking for a job the next day. The owners had already fired him.
Yeah, well, we had. I can tell you some stories, but we better not do it on the air with Slick. But if you, there's a couple in my book that I can't repeat on the air, but let's just say they aren't for children to read. But we had some interesting locker room talks.
Awesome. We'll be getting that book and promoting it as well. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's some great stuff, man. This is, I mean, some of the names that you're mentioning, Billy Pulse, those guys, and
I remember
like Mel Daniels.
Hey, Brian.
These are legends, man.
Hey, Brian, what do you know about Billy Pulse, man? You don't know about Billy. You two young guys, y'all don't know about.
Man, come on. I used to watch Billy Pulse, man. That's
and Billy Malchione.
He was like a big, with Billy Pulse, I think, he was like a house.
They called him the cheeseburger, didn't they? They called him a hamburger or something?
I'll tell you,
him and Jumbo Jim Akins.
They had some big guys like, I don't know if you ever remember Swen Nader. Now that
backed up Bill Walton.
That was one of the strongest guys.
He backed up Bill Walton.
I mean, you don't get in a fight with Swen. I watched a guy, and I'm not going to say who, got off our bench one time and took a haymaker at Swen Nader and hit him, and Swen just kind of looked at him and smiled. And I was ready to run out of the room. I was afraid Swen was going to kill everybody. But we would have literally. It's funny that they talk now about they fine somebody for taking a swing. I mean, my gosh, we would have. We had one game where they the fight started, and Mel Daniels. Funny story we tell about Mel. We said, when we first year Mel played, we played 84 games with 84 fights, and Mel started all. And we had a big fight with Virginia, and one of the players, I think it's Al Bianchi, was one of the players cold cocked the policeman that came out on the floor, and they arrested Jim Akins, they arrested Al Bianchi, they arrested three of the Squires and Al Bianchi, and our owners had to go down and bail them out. They arrested them.
Wow.
And guess what? No technicals.
Oh man, that's good. Hey, hey Bob,
that certainly wouldn't happen today.
Hey Bob, we got to ask you too. We got probably about 10 minutes up here. I want to get a little info, or hear you talk a little bit about the Dropping Dimes initiative.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I started about 9 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 11, or whatever it was. I applied. Well, I was a player representative for the Pacers, and when the merger happened, one of the things of the merger was they were guaranteeing that all the pension eligible players, 3 years or more, would be into the NBA pension program. So when it all came about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we found out that they didn't do any contributions, and they just basically screwed us over, and all the owners are dead. So it was just a big mess, and a lot of these guys are really hurting. So Dropping Dimes was formed by a guy named Scott Tarter, who's an attorney up in Indianapolis, and he's put together an association. It's really nice, called droppingdimes.org. And they help out ABA players, and you don't even have to play 3 years. They like one guy about a year ago, they helped him pay to bury his daughter. He had no money. A guy like Bird Averett, who is basically really in bad shape. They bought him a new electric wheelchair, and they help people out, but they're working on this pension, and they have agreed to help the NBA if the NBA would just participate like they did the pre-65 guys. Scott and his law firm are going to do everything for free and make it a grant, and it won't cost the NBA, one game salary for one of these guys. And I've been working on that for a long time. And Dropping Dimes is just a bunch of really good guys that are ex-ABA, just super ABA fans. And we've got a wonderful advisory board. I don't know if you looked at it. We got 8 Hall of Famers on there: Bob Costas, George Gervin. We've got Reggie Miller's on there, the new guys. We've got Dan Issel, Rick Barry, Spencer Haywood. That's some pretty good names on there. Louis Dampier. And George McGinnis. I mean, you can put together a pretty good team there. But, it's just a really worthwhile organization. And I'm, a big proponent of it. And we're working really hard to try and get these guys, a small pension to help them out. Because there's a lot of, they didn't make any money, a lot of these guys, and they're living in, we found 2 guys, Mel Daniels and I found 2 guys living in their cars, which is kind of sad when you've got a good player. I mean, the guy was a good, I'm not going to mention his name, he was a really good player, and he's just had hard times. So it's a sad deal, really.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
So you're friends with Bob Costas, is that right, Bob?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, Bob's a great guy.
Yeah, I really like Bob Costas. He's
Bob's been helping us a lot. Bob's been in this things from day one, helping me and working with the pension. He's talking to the NBA, and you've got a lot of the NBA's got a lot of old timers that really don't like the ABA. They don't want to admit that the ABA, like I said in my book, changed the game.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote the book. Dick Tinkham, who passed away a year ago, he was the original Pacer owner. He was the original person in ABA. He basically held the league together. He had the head of the merger committee. We were drinking a couple of beers one night. He told me, he was laughing. He said, nobody knows the real stories. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, I'll tell you one to be sure. He said, the 7th game of the playoffs in '69, we played Kentucky. We were a 10-point underdog. And he said, that morning, he said, we had a meeting with bankruptcy attorneys. And if you guys would have lost that game, we ended up winning the game and going to the finals. But he said, if you would have lost that game, we were folding the team the next day. Now, if they'd have folded the Pacers, that ended the ABA in 1969. Just think what that would have done to basketball. Wow. And there's all kinds of stories like that. And the merger with Jack Kent, Jack Kent Cook, the way he sold the Lakers to Jerry Buss is a great story. And I never knew it. I mean, Jerry Buss bought the Pacers.
Wow.
And he was at a party with Jack Kent Cook, and Jack said, I didn't know you had that kind of money. He said, hell, I'll sell you the damn Lakers. So Buss had to go find a guy to take him off the lake to buy the Pacers so he could buy the Lakers. Just crazy things like that went on. So it's pretty interesting.
I'll tell you, pioneering time, and one of the things that kind of made me proud to be part of the league myself was when I was getting the emails, and I actually saw Joe Newman on a TV ad that actually made it out here in Australia, but it was on PBS from America. And I was like, what? The league's still alive? And I contacted him, and then he told me that what him and Dick were doing. And if Dick wouldn't have been involved in this, I don't, it just made it like, wow, I got an opportunity to be part of something that's brought in by one of the originals, So Brian and I take what we're doing with a lot of pride, So we're trying to take it.
The NBA has been marketing the ABA. Like they've been selling mine, Mel Daniels, Freddie Lewis, all the guys. They've been selling our jerseys for 20-some years. And again, we were promised, a merchandising check, and the check I've got so far wouldn't buy me half a cup of coffee at.
Wow.
So there's just a lot of. I think there's a lot of things going on that should be rectified. And I love, and the ABA. It's like the old ABA, the real ABA guys are, like from Julius Erving to Mel Daniels to all the way down the line. It's kind of we're like a fraternity. We had that reunion last year. It was unbelievable. 110 guys showed up, and
wow,
it was amazing. And the fraternity that was involved there.
Man,
do you think
I'm just kind of, we didn't make any money, but I'm very proud to be a part of it, because I think, like I said, we all talked, and we basically changed the game of basketball. And these guys today that are making the $500,000 a game. I mean, you know, they owe it. They basically, it started with guys like Julius and Mel Daniels, Roger Brown, the greatest ever, and Mel Daniels and these guys. I mean, they were the pioneers, and that's all we're asking for, is just to be recognized as pioneers.
There you go.
Do you think that it's important? See, me being on this side and being involved with the ABA, you know, I always talk to people here and anybody that I talk to, really, because you guys did change the game. But what I think is lacking is the educational knowledge for everyone else to understand how much the ABA has influenced the game. I mean, in Europe, here in Australia, South America, well, they're all playing with the 3-point line. Right. They're all playing with the, you know, the pretty much every rule implemented.
There's an interesting statistic that in the first year the 3-point was allowed in the NBA, there was, I think they said there was like 460 3-pointers shot. And last year there was almost over 35,000 3-pointers shot.
Wow!
So I think it's become a part of the game. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it really has. It really has. But the ABA has influenced basketball around the world, and even here, when I talk to people about what it is, like me and CJ are doing here in relation to the ABA, and you start educating them on the rules and the changes of the game and the cheerleaders and the entertainment factor that the ABA brought to everything.
It changed marketing. It changed marketing.
Hey guys, hate to cut in, but yeah, we're about to run out of time here. Got about a little under a minute left, but Bob, we did really say, really, thank you, man. And
hey, all you fans out there, buy that book. Go to WeChangeTheGame.com, and you'll love the book. You'll love the book.
That's right.
I'm getting my copy today.
Yeah, we're gonna and Bob, this isn't the end. We're gonna have you back on. Just like I told Ron Perry as well. You know, we definitely want to hear what you guys got to say. So let me say thank you to everybody. Brian, Rick, you know, let's do this all again. Bob, we'll be back in touch for sure.
Hey, CJ.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, go ahead, Rick.
You know, I always end it with, never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
There you go.
The American Basketball Association is the largest pro league in the world. Some great opportunities for team ownership are available, and the cost may surprise you. If you've ever thought about team ownership in a pro league, give us the opportunity to help make it a reality. Reach out to us for more info. For USA teams at www.abaliveaction.com. In Australia, go to www.abaleagueaustralia.com.
Come explore the No Strings Attached e-News online magazine. Our global array of authors inspire, delight, and educate with practical and entertaining articles. And with Focus On, we help producers of film, web series, and other video content attract a wider audience. Plus, your project can stream on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and more with our media partners E360 TV and NETV. No Strings Attached e-News, focusing on human interest. Advertising available, nsaen.com.
Well, that's going to do it for this week. Remember, you can keep up with every episode by subscribing via our website. Follow us on social media and tell your friends about us. Next week, new guests, more basketball tips, more basketball stories about the game we all love. Till then, be safe and keep your eyes on the ball.
Give him a bone.